All right, welcome back. It is high school basketball season, and we are making sure we get out and watch as many games as possible. And by we, I mean Rich.
In fact, I've been out covering games all over the city, and I've seen some kids who can really hoop. Let's actually take it back to last Friday. If we can pull up the Central Whitehaven game. Ruben, this is what it's all about. This is what that initiative was all about. Oh, this is Central White Station. Oh, we'll talk about Central White Station, okay? We'll stay on Central White Station, that's fine. This was from Tuesday night. Now, Central, when I look at this game, they were once again coming off a loss, that was with the Whitehaven game, and I'm always intrigued to see how teams respond in a loss because Whitehaven came in there and kind of like controlled things. And White Station, this is a district rivalry right here. White Station, the record doesn't show it, but as we talk, those kids, they can hoop. They have effort. But Central I really like, Ruben, how they play fundamentals. You know, they kind of wait to get the best shot. The tip of the spear right here is A.J. Polk, number 3. I'm really starting to like what he does. He's a guy who I don't think probably gets as much credit as he probably deserves as being one of the better kids in our area.
I think it's tough because this area is honestly loaded with basketball talent. And Central's got kids who can play, but when you're starting to talk about you've got, nationally ranked players in the metro and in the surrounding areas, then you're right. Those kids like AJ get overlooked because they're not those nationally ranked players. Everybody talks about the 4 stars and the 5 stars and all. They don't talk about the kids who are right underneath. And so that's where those kids, but that's where they can make their name though, is by they got to beat some of those other high-level teams.
And I think when you look at Central as more of they're good. We look at the overall totality, which is what coaches want. They probably record-wise have probably one of the better records in the area. They've only lost two games. One of them being to the Whitehaven game, if we can pull that up. That game was this past Friday, and it was a lot going into that game. Whitehaven is one of the top 20 teams in the state, but they took a handful of losses. I think they had 5 losses, and Central had only had 1 loss, and it was in a neutral tournament, losing to a team from Missouri.
Yeah.
So, like I had said on Friday, Ruben, this game was packed. It was so busy that I got there 30 minutes early. People were crowding outside. I was like, what is going on here? And it was like, no, there wasn't any space to sit. So a lot of people, they just weren't letting people in. The only reason I got in is because I had to show them my badge that I was media, or they wasn't going to let me in. And it was raucous. Like every time a team scored, the place just lit up almost like we were in Division I basketball.
Yeah, it is definitely packed in there. I think I'm excited for this season of high school basketball here in the area. I will say this: please put a shot clock in.
Yeah.
Please put a shot clock in.
I hate it when teams are just like holding the ball.
Yeah, I think it is hard to tell how well a kid's game translates to college when they play without a shot clock.
Yeah.
Because
they can go up 5 and then they'll just milk the clock.
And it's
the only thing you can do is maybe foul them or try to draw a 5 seconds.
Puts the defense at such a deficit because you can have to play defense for a minute, right? While somebody's just passing the ball around, whereas in college, it's never going to be that way. In college, you're going to have to play with a shot clock. So offensively, you have to know how to get into sets. You have to have IQ enough to be able to, at 10 seconds comes, are we going pick and roll? Are we going ISO? What are we doing? And then defensively, you got to lock down for that, 35 seconds or whatever that shot clock ends up being here. But please, 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 for whoever needs to hear me, put a shot clock in.
Now, Ruben, I got to ask you from the perspective of a player and even being a coach, when you are from the perspective of a coach, when you're going against a team that's highly touted and you're like, okay, this team haven't really lost that many games and you're going into a raucous environment where it's going to be loud, how do you get your players prepared? Because I was very impressed with how Whitehaven responded in this game. This was literally enemy territory.
Well, I think for the most part, those guys all know each other too, right?
Yeah.
They've been hooping together since they were little kids. They all know each other. So while it's a big rivalry on the chest, the reality is they've probably played 5-on-5, 1-on-1, 3-on-3 in the gym for years. So a lot of that is just outside noise, not inside noise. The second part of it is you're just doing your job. When you're really coaching kids, what you're trying to coach kids to do is to do their job. Whatever your job is on that play, in that situation, in that instance, just do your job. When people focus on doing their job and doing it well, I always say, if everybody does their job well, our odds of winning go up. If you don't do your job well, our odds of losing go up. And it's just that simple. So in a game like this, if you let emotions
and the crowd get
too much, well, you just can't let it get to you at all. It doesn't matter what the crowd's not playing.
Yeah.
So you can't get too high when you score a bucket, too low when you miss, not too high when you get an and one, not too low when you get a foul. The best players play right here.
Yeah.
Just all the time. They play right here. They only get emotional or show that emotion in very rare instances, right? Like even Jordan, you could watch him play a big and one, he'd, pump his fist or something. A game-winning shot, he'd do that. But for the most part, he's just getting buckets and scoring.
Yeah. And like I said, Central they lost that game, but then they were able to bounce back and take care of business against White Station. They got a game coming up this Friday, once again, against a top 25 team in the state of Tennessee, hosting Southwind. So
so many good teams.
It seems to be a thing with me in Central. It's like I cover them and they coming off of an L and then they'll get a win and then they got a chance to rectify it at home and then they lose and then they rectify it by winning, on the road. So here we go again.
Well, there's a lot of teams that we want to catch, not just, obviously we're covering Central because some of the teams that they're playing, but there's a lot of teams and a lot of good players in this area that we're trying to get out to watch as much as we can. I wanted to point out a couple of the kids that we know that we've been kind of hearing more about. Larry Benson from NBA. He's a senior this year, supposedly having a good start to his season. I would like for us to go check him out. We haven't watched NBA play.
We haven't, and that's why I always put that full screen out where I always say the number. We don't have it in this show, but I will just say it out loud. 901-321-7520. We got to memorize that number. That is the number. Text us. Let me know about what's going on in the Mid-South area. You can influence what we cover here at ABC 24 with high school sports. I want to talk about, because it seems like we're burying the lead. Top team in the state of Tennessee, Bartlett. Top team.
Bartlett.
Top 10 team in the country.
Bartlett.
They took care of business. It was another day in the office against Collierville.
Look at that score.
73-30. And it seems like the top guys, Braylon Williams, I didn't even see him like that because they took care of business so quick that they was like, all right, well, let's get some of our younger players. Like you had Malachi Hill. And I like this DJ guy. He really gets up. He has the bunnies for like catching alley-oops. But Bartlett, man, they took care of business against Collierville, what they're supposed to do, Ruben. But what I want to focus more on is the fact that Bartlett is taking the challenge of playing the best teams in the country because their next game is against Wheeler, which is the #1 team in Georgia.
Good.
So now you're talking about the best of Tennessee versus the best in Georgia. How good are you really? We're going to find out.
Well, I think they're really good. I think that they are talented at all areas. They've got size. They've got length. Length is in basketball. Size is great, but length is really important. They've got speed. They've got kids who can shoot it, kids who can get up. If you haven't had a chance to watch Bartlett play, I think they are the real deal.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate to have so much talent in our area in high school basketball.
Bartlett's so good that Penny offered 3 guys on the team. 3.
Well,
3.
So which games are you going to this week?
Well, that will kind of depend on what our glorious audience sends us, but I think I'm going to look at that Southwind Central game. I'm looking at the FACS because they got
check
that
out
eighth grader.
The youngsters.
EJ, what's his name? EJ Blunt.
Blount, yeah.
That's something like that. That kid, when you told me about him, an 8th grader.
And he's 5 foot tall.
So and he's putting up like 20 points a game.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye out on them. So, we'll just kind of see what the people. One more, because we're, I gotta represent from a neighborhood. We did not forget about Melrose, my Orange Mountain people. Shout out Principal Tally. Shout out AD Tanya Mitchell. Shout out to the Morrow boys. I pulled up at Melrose. Okay, Ruben. So this was the story about this. So the viewers asked me to cover Kirby versus Power Academy. And so that's what I tried to go do on Friday. I got to Power Academy. Nobody was there. Like literally, I had a picture. It was an empty parking lot. I tried to call people. Nobody answered. So I'm like, well, I did promise our audience 2 games. Let me go back home. And of course, I didn't literally go home, but I was like, let me go see what's going on at Melrose. And then I got there and I got it to the 4th quarter, and it was an incredible finish where the game ended up going in overtime. These 2 teams just going back and forth. This ended up being the go-ahead bucket right here. I forgot his name, number 15. But it just shows you that even, like you said, there's so much talent in the Mid-South that even the quote-unquote little guys, you'll be in for something even when you go watch them play.
Good basketball for sure. All right, so we'll be on the lookout for Rich to be at a game near you or at a game at your school sometime this week. He's going to be catching more and more high school basketball.